Hello, Serious Survivor here. And I want to talk about why this pullout in Afghanistan matters so much to us as a nation. But first, a quick word from the sponsors for this video. What if I tell you you can get your hands on some of the gold from one of the, if not the most important shipwrecks in our history? It serves as a snapshot of America's most historic era, the California Gold Rush. It is the biggest contributor to the Panic of 1857. And no, it's not the Titanic. It's the SS Central America, known as the Ship of Gold. It sank in 1857, where it stayed for more than 160 years. Now you can own coins recovered from it. Each coin has a unique recovery number and comes in a quality display box with a certificate of authenticity. Getting these incomparable pieces of history into your hands from the deep took years of courtroom battles about ownership. What are you waiting for? These coins are not just a piece of investment, it's a piece of our history. And with free, speedy shipping, you need to call Noble Gold right now at 877-646-5347, and that's 877-646-5347. Because they'll go quicker than a Jeff Bezos space flight. With what we've seen over the past week, with the pullout in Afghanistan resulting in total chaos and many thousands of Americans being left behind, one of the biggest impacts we're going to see as far as politically and on the international level is the effect that this is going to have on the U.S.'s reputation among our allies and especially among our enemies. After repeated assurances from the administration that there would not be chaos when we pulled out, that things would go very smoothly, we see the total opposite has actually occurred. We see people hanging from airplanes, and people were even killed. They found a body in the wheel well of one of these airplanes after it had landed later in another country. All reports coming out of Afghanistan are contradictory to what the administration is currently saying. And the administration is saying that it's going according to plan. Now, that is one part I will agree with, that this is going according to their plan. And we know that those words have a more nefarious meaning.
And that's why I wanted to speak to you today about the new world taking shape around us, about the prospects for a new world order now within our reach.
With this pullout, with this intentional pullout, the way that it was performed to allow the Taliban to immediately basically take over Afghanistan with little to no resistance was probably the goal all along. This opens up Afghanistan to become allies with China and allow China's influence to spread more throughout that particular region and then throughout the world. As we've talked about the China's BRI, Belt Road Initiative, or what was initially known as OBOR, One Belt, One Road, to a new world order. And this should be very concerning to us all because we're seeing the establishment of this as the United States pulls back. China's moving in at a very fast rate, and it will not be long before China and the Taliban have reached an agreement in which China supports them financially in exchange for some of their natural resources. But even with that being said, one of the most damaging things about this, other than the people that we left behind, one of the most damaging things about this is the confidence that any other government in the world may have had in the United States before this. At this point, what we've proven is that we will turn our back on people who helped us, but more importantly, we turned our back on American citizens that are now trapped there. Although the administration gives assurances that these citizens will be evacuated safely, we've yet to see that. And all we've seen right now is total chaos, and citizens on Twitter, on TikTok, Facebook, other places that allow them to post are trapped within the city and outside of the city, in the outskirts. And with a city in a country like this that doesn't have a very strong infrastructure like we do in a lot of the modern nations of the world, they can't simply get in a car and drive to the airport. These roads are blockaded and they're trapped. And the military has already stated that they do not have the resources to simply go to each location and evacuate each person, which in a roundabout way is saying you're on your own. So when the world community looks at the United States at this point, then they're seeing a country that not only left Afghanistan to the wolves basically, but left our own people behind. And regardless of the amount of people there, we know it's in the thousands. Some estimates reach as high as 15,000, depends on which news report that you watch. But even if it's just 10, or 15, to leave our own people behind to be basically slaughtered if we do not get them out, then we have turned our backs on the very people that we are supposed to be protecting, and that's ourselves. Imagine if you were one of the contractors that were over there, and then you wake up one morning and suddenly the U.S. is pulling out and you're trapped 100 miles from the airport with no way to get there. How much faith does one have in the government at that point? And the biggest part about this, the part that bothers me the most, is that we as American citizens, no matter what your background, no matter what your beliefs, we are being judged by what this administration has so incompetently done. They have orchestrated and created a scenario in which American citizens are now directly in harm's way. And we don't even know if anything's happened to a lot of these people, and I'm sure it has from some of the reports that we've read. But this makes America look like we will not stand with those that we said we would. When another conflict arises, we're going to have a lot of difficulty getting allies to support us in any type of conflict when in the back of their minds, they're thinking, well, America's just going to pull out when the going gets rough for them or when they feel like it. And not only will we pull out, but we will leave our allies and our own people there to their own devices. This is a much bigger statement, a much broader impact than just one nation, Afghanistan. That would just happen to be the location in which it took place. Sort of reminds you of Benghazi a few years back when citizens were left there basically to fend for themselves and U.S. citizens were killed at that point. Now, this is much larger. It's much larger. And what's concerning about the Benghazi is that the same players are playing the game. Biden was vice president during that, along with Clinton as Secretary of State. And we've all heard enough, or a lot about that, I should say. And now we're seeing this happen to a much larger extent. I realize the two situations are different, but they're similar in the fact that we left Americans to their own devices. If nothing else, we should have at least evacuated our own citizens. And one of the reasons this will have a tremendous impact on us from here on out is because China will step in, and possibly Russia and maybe even Pakistan will step in to make things better in that particular region. China's already looking at investing billions of dollars there to increase or to develop infrastructure that Afghanistan does not have at this point. At that point, China will be heroes to that particular country. We are beginning to look like, which we have for a while, we're beginning to look like the bad guys in the world, the ones that will start trouble and then pull out without much warning. I know that we have been talking about removing troops from Afghanistan for a very long time, and there are a lot of mixed emotions and mixed debates on whether or not we should have troops there. I understand both sides to that debate, but this is something that has made us the laughing stock of the world. While we have people there that are fearing for their lives as we speak, as you watch this video, people are hiding, wondering how they're going to get out of this foreign nation and get back to an airport that might bring them back home. And people are going to lose their lives through this. This is something that could have been avoided, and the rest of the world sees that. And when the rest of the world sees that, they look at this event and they look at how incompetent the administration was in performing this set of actions, that this is going to degrade confidence throughout the world. We are isolating ourselves from what allies we do have in the world through incompetent and destructive, self-destructive behavior from our own government. This administration is more worried about quieting Americans, about putting a muzzle on our First Amendment rights to speak our mind, to use the ability to question the government. This is going out the window, and we're seeing this happen every day. And when other countries in the world do not trust us, we will be left alone to stand when there is a conflict to be fought in. And conflicts will arise. We're in the beginning of possibly a global war. And the reason I say that is because the domination and influence of China is growing day by day, while the influence of the United States is shrinking. And in the last 6 months, this has shrinked incredibly. Nations do not trust us. People of the world do not trust us. And what is so infuriating about this is all of us American citizens are being grouped in with the bad decisions, the terrible decisions that are made by this administration. We are in for a long, hard ride, and we're just starting out on it. And this is going to be a very tumultuous rest of this year, and leading into 2022, there's no telling what it will bring. And the things that we can take for granted, I guess you would say, or know for sure will happen, is that the government will continue to attempt to persecute its own citizens as opposed to carrying out the duties that it was obligated to. We're looking at a collapse, and we're looking at a collapse happening from within. We know the social, the economic issues that we've been seeing here in the United States, and with our economy flailing like it is, all the reports in the world don't do justice when you go to the store and they're closed because they can't find someone to work. These reports, in my opinion, are all falsified. When they talk about new jobs being created each month, these aren't new jobs. These are some people that happened to go back to work last month, and they need to get their facts straight on that and present a true and accurate picture of it, because we are being deceived from the top down. We're being deceived, and we're being led into a situation that will cause the destruction of this nation, and we must stand together through these times. Well, just some thoughts for today. Just wanted to put that out there. Thanks a lot for listening. God bless. And for now, Serious Survivor, out.